What if I told you that your body could be quietly changing in ways you don't even notice, until one day, it's no longer easy to ignore? What I'm about to share with you might feel unsettling, because most people don't realize these changes are already beginning long before they turn 80, and by the time they notice, the body has already adapted in ways that are harder to reverse. Before we go any further, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Not for me, but for yourself, because the more you understand your body now, the more control you keep over your future health. I want you to imagine waking up one morning and realizing that simple things, walking steadily, remembering names, even maintaining your energy throughout the day, don't feel quite the same anymore. Not dramatically worse, just different, subtle, easy to dismiss. That's how it often begins. I've seen this happen too many times. Patients come in thinking everything is normal aging, when in reality, their bodies have been sending signals for years. Signals that were quiet but consistent. One of the most overlooked truths about aging is this: your body doesn't suddenly change at 80. It gradually shifts over decades. Muscle mass slowly declines. Blood sugar regulation becomes less efficient. Your heart doesn't respond as quickly to stress. And your brain, yes, even your brain, begins to process information differently. Most people don't realize how interconnected all of this is. A small drop in activity can lead to weaker muscles. Weaker muscles can affect balance. Reduced balance increases the risk of falls. And suddenly, something that seemed minor becomes life-changing. But here's the part that might surprise you. These changes are not entirely out of your control. While aging is natural, how your body responds to it can vary greatly depending on what you do today. The key is awareness, not fear, not panic, awareness. Because once you start recognizing these early patterns, you begin to see your body differently. You stop ignoring the small signs. You start asking better questions. And most importantly, you give yourself the chance to age with strength, clarity, and dignity. And this is just the beginning of what I need to tell you. There's something else that begins to change quietly as you approach your later years, and most people don't recognize it until it starts interfering with their daily life. It's not something dramatic at first. In fact, it often feels like nothing more than having less energy than before. But what I'm about to tell you might surprise you. Your body's ability to regulate blood sugar becomes less efficient over time. Even if you've never been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, your cells can slowly become less responsive to insulin. This means glucose stays in your bloodstream longer than it should, and your body has to work harder just to maintain balance. I've seen this happen too many times. People who believed they were perfectly fine suddenly start experiencing subtle symptoms they didn't connect to blood sugar at all. You might feel unusually tired after meals. You may notice more frequent cravings for sweets or carbohydrates. Sometimes there's a slight fogginess in your thinking, like your mind isn't as sharp as it used to be. These are not random. These are signals. Most people don't realize that even small, repeated spikes in blood sugar can gradually affect your blood vessels, your nerves, and even your brain. Over time, this can influence your heart health, your memory, and your overall energy levels. And here's where it becomes even more important. As you age, your muscle mass naturally declines. Muscle plays a key role in helping your body use glucose efficiently. So when muscle decreases, blood sugar control can become even more challenging. It's a cycle that feeds into itself, quietly, slowly, and often unnoticed. But this doesn't mean it's inevitable in the way most people think. Simple habits, like regular movement, balanced meals, and paying attention to how your body responds after eating, can make a meaningful difference. Not overnight, not dramatically, but consistently. Because the goal here isn't perfection, it's stability. You don't need extreme diets or complicated routines. What your body needs is steady support. the kind that helps maintain balance rather than constantly correcting imbalance. And the earlier you become aware of this, the more gently you can guide your body in the right direction. Because what starts as a small shift in energy and metabolism can shape how you feel every single day in your later years. There's another change that often feels invisible at first, until one day it affects your confidence in ways you didn't expect. I'm talking about balance, stability, and the subtle weakening of your muscles. Most people don't realize that after a certain age, the body naturally begins to lose muscle mass, a process known as sarcopenia. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens quietly, gradually, almost unnoticeably. You may still be able to do your daily activities, but they start to feel just a little more effortful. Standing up from a chair might take an extra second. Walking upstairs might feel slightly heavier than before. You might even find yourself holding on to railings more often without really thinking about it. I've seen this happen too many times. People assume it's just getting older, but what they don't realize is that this gradual loss of strength can directly affect their independence. What I'm about to tell you might surprise you. Your muscles are not just for movement. They are deeply connected to your metabolism, your balance, and even your protection against injury. When muscles weaken, your body becomes less stable. Small missteps that you would have easily corrected in your younger years can turn into falls. And falls, especially later in life, can have serious consequences. But it's not just about falling. Reduced muscle strength can also make everyday life feel more exhausting. Carrying groceries, getting out of bed, even maintaining good posture, all of these rely on muscles that are quietly changing beneath the surface. Most people don't realize that this process can begin much earlier than they expect. And by the time they reach 80, the effects can feel much more pronounced if nothing has been done to support muscle health along the way. The encouraging part is this: your body still responds to care. Gentle, consistent movement, like walking, light resistance exercises, or even simple daily activities, can help maintain strength over time. It doesn't require intense workouts or sudden changes. What matters is consistency. Small actions, repeated regularly, can help your muscles stay active and engaged, because maintaining strength isn't about looking younger. It's about living with confidence. It's about being able to move freely, safely, and without fear. And when you begin to understand this, you start to see movement not as effort, but as protection for your future self. There's another shift that often goes unnoticed, not because it isn't happening, but because it feels so familiar that people begin to accept it as just part of life. I'm talking about changes in memory, focus, and mental clarity. What I'm about to tell you might surprise you. As the brain ages, it doesn't simply slow down, it adapts. Certain connections become less efficient, especially those responsible for processing speed and short-term memory. You might walk into a room and forget why you're there. You might struggle to recall a name that used to come instantly. At first, it feels harmless, even a little amusing, but over time, these moments can become more frequent. Most people don't realize that these subtle cognitive changes are influenced by many of the same factors that affect the rest of your body: blood flow, blood sugar balance, sleep quality, and even physical activity. I've seen this happen too many times. Someone believes their memory is fading purely because of age, when in reality, their brain isn't getting the consistent support it needs. Your brain depends on a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients. When circulation becomes less efficient, as it often does over time, mental clarity can begin to shift. Not dramatically at first, just enough to make you feel a little less sharp than before. And then there's sleep. As you get older, sleep patterns often change. You may wake up more frequently during the night or find it harder to reach deep, restorative sleep. This matters more than most people realize, because your brain uses sleep to reset, repair, and consolidate memories. When sleep is disrupted, thinking can feel slower. Focus becomes harder to maintain. Even your mood can be affected. Most people don't connect these dots. They think, I'm just getting older, without realizing that small adjustments, like improving sleep habits, staying mentally active, and maintaining physical movement, can support brain health in meaningful ways. This doesn't mean every memory lapse is a serious problem, but it does mean your brain is asking for attention. And here's the part that matters most. When you stay engaged, reading, learning, having conversations, challenging your mind, you help your brain maintain its connections. You give it a reason to stay active. Because your mind, just like your body, responds to how you treat it. And the difference between feeling mentally sharp or slowly disconnected often comes down to the small daily choices that most people overlook. There's another change that many people feel, but rarely talk about openly, and that is what happens to your heart as you age. What I'm about to tell you might surprise you. Your heart doesn't suddenly become weak at 80. It gradually becomes less flexible. The blood vessels that once expanded easily begin to stiffen. The heart muscle itself may thicken slightly, and it doesn't respond to physical or emotional stress the way it used to. At first, this doesn't feel alarming. You might notice that climbing stairs leaves you slightly more breathless than before, or that your heart rate doesn't increase or recover as quickly during activity. These moments feel small, easy to ignore. But I've seen this happen too many times. People assume their heart is fine because they don't feel pain. But heart health isn't always about pain. It's often about subtle performance changes that build over time. Most people don't realize how closely this is linked to hypertension. As blood vessels stiffen, blood pressure can gradually rise. And high blood pressure doesn't always come with clear symptoms. It can quietly place extra strain on your heart day after day. Over time, this can affect how efficiently your heart pumps blood throughout your body. That means less oxygen reaching your muscles, your brain, and your vital organs. And here's where everything connects again. Reduced circulation can influence your energy levels, your mental clarity, even your balance. You may feel more fatigued without understanding why. You may find it harder to stay active, which then feeds back into muscle loss and metabolic changes. It becomes a cycle, but this is where awareness becomes powerful. Simple habits, like staying physically active, managing stress, choosing balanced meals, and monitoring your blood pressure, can support your heart in ways that truly matter over time. Not perfectly, not instantly, but consistently. Because your heart doesn't need extreme effort. It needs steady care. And when you begin to listen to these subtle signals, slight breathlessness, reduced stamina, small changes in how your body responds, you give yourself the opportunity to respond early. Because the goal isn't just to live longer, it's to live with a heart that continues to support you, quietly, reliably, through every stage of life. There's one more change that often surprises people, not because it's rare, but because it happens so gradually that it becomes easy to ignore. And that is the way your senses begin to shift, your vision, your hearing, even your sensitivity to touch. What I'm about to tell you might surprise you. Many people assume that needing brighter light to read or turning up the volume on the television is just a minor inconvenience. But these are signals. Your eyes and ears, just like every other part of your body, are changing over time. With vision, the lens inside your eye slowly becomes less flexible. This can make it harder to focus on close objects. Colors may appear less vibrant. Night vision may decline, making driving in low light more challenging. Conditions like cataracts can develop gradually, often without immediate discomfort. I've seen this happen too many times. People adapt to these changes without realizing how much their vision has actually declined. They move closer to the screen. They squint more often. They avoid driving at night. These adjustments feel small, but they reflect something deeper. Hearing follows a similar pattern. You may start missing parts of conversations, especially in noisy environments. Voices might sound less clear. You might ask people to repeat themselves more often, but not think much of it. This gradual decline, often associated with presbycusis, can affect more than just communication. Most people don't realize that reduced hearing can lead to social withdrawal. Conversations become tiring. Group settings feel overwhelming. Over time, some people begin to engage less, not because they want to, but because it becomes more difficult. And then there's touch. Your skin becomes thinner, less elastic. Sensitivity can decrease, which means you might not notice small injuries or changes as quickly as before. Healing may also take longer. All of this matters more than it seems, because your senses are how you connect to the world. When they begin to change, your interaction with your environment changes too. But here's the important part. Regular checkups, proper lighting, protecting your hearing, and staying aware of these subtle shifts can help you adapt in healthier ways. You don't have to simply accept these changes without response. Because maintaining your senses isn't just about comfort, it's about staying connected to people, to your surroundings, and to the life you continue to live every single day. There's one final truth that I need you to understand, and it ties everything we've talked about together in a way most people don't expect. Aging is not just about what your body loses, it's about what your body adapts to. What I'm about to tell you might surprise you. By the time many people reach 80, they haven't just experienced changes in their muscles, heart, brain, or senses. They've adapted to those changes so deeply that they no longer question them. Slower movement feels normal. Fatigue feels expected. Forgetfulness feels inevitable. And that's where the real risk begins. Because when something feels normal, you stop paying attention to it. I've seen this happen too many times. Individuals who could have made small, meaningful adjustments years earlier only begin to reflect when daily life becomes more difficult. Not impossible, but noticeably harder. Getting out of bed requires more effort. Walking longer distances feels draining. Conversations become more tiring. Not because something suddenly went wrong, but because many small changes were quietly building over time. Most people don't realize that conditions like frailty syndrome are not caused by a single event. They are the result of gradual shifts across multiple systems in the body: muscles, metabolism, circulation, and cognition, all influencing one another. But here's the part that matters most. And I want you to really hear this. These changes may be common, but they are not all equally inevitable in how they affect your life. The difference often comes down to awareness and consistency. The way you move your body, the way you nourish yourself, the way you protect your sleep, the way you stay mentally and socially engaged. These are not small things. They are daily decisions that quietly shape how your body functions over time. And no, this is not about perfection. It's not about doing everything right. It's about not ignoring what your body is trying to tell you. Because your body speaks in whispers long before it ever raises its voice. A little less energy, a little less balance, a little less clarity. These are not just signs of aging. They are invitations to pay attention. And if you begin listening now, truly listening, you give yourself something incredibly valuable. Time. Time to adjust. Time to support your body. Time to protect your independence. Because the goal is not just to reach 80, it's to arrive there still feeling like yourself. Strong, aware, and connected to the life you've built. And that journey doesn't start later. It starts with what you choose to notice today.